Pitmasters, what is up? You know, a couple of weeks ago we did this video, pork belly crispy skin, what is the best way to make it? And I'm not really happy with that video. I know I can do better. So let's get started. We didn't get that nice pop. You can clearly see the difference, the one that is salted and the one is not salted. We definitely need to salt for 24 hours. And roasting it at a high temperature is way better than roasting it at a low temperature and then finishing off. Look at that skin. It's not gorgeous at all. Well, we learned some good stuff from these tests that we did in the video. We really need to dry out the pork skin with salt for at least 24 hours. We also learned that we need to roast it at a high temperature. We want to do things different. I want to go to that high temperature, but not as high as I did last time. I also want to try puncturing the skin this time, and I also want to try vinegar on the skin and see what that does. I'm wearing my lucky pork belly shirt, so we can only get the perfect result today. Let's get started. Look at these beautiful Iberico pork bellies. 24 hours ago we put salt in a tray and put the Iberico pork bellies on top with the skin down. So if we want to cook these pork bellies, of course we need to fire up the barbecue. We're going to use some Kamado Joe Big Block, and we still have some charcoal left from the last cook. So all we need to do is add a little bit more charcoal. For this barbecue we are going to use our chimney starter. Drop it right in there. Put in 2 of these fire starters. Light them up. Do the same for the other barbecue. While we are lighting up our barbecues, we're going to rinse off the salt on our pork bellies. So one of these pork belly skins we're going to be puncturing, and the other one we're just going to leave as it is. Now I've got this needle, a butcher's needle, which is quite heavy because you need a lot of power to penetrate the skin of the pork. Our barbecue has come up to temperature, so our pork bellies can go on. For this pork belly skin, we're going to do something different. I see a lot of people using vinegar to crispen up their skin. And I don't know what the science is behind it, but we need to test it. We need to see and find out if it really helps or not. We're using a Kamado style grill, so we definitely want to use a dripping tray. The fat out of the pork will render down and will fall into the fat or on your plate setter, and you don't want to get that grease burn. Now with this pork belly we're going to brush on the vinegar. So we'll set it over the dripping tray. This is clear distilled vinegar. We'll put some onto the skin, brush it, and we keep repeating this process while we cook our pork belly. We'll put in the deflector plate, put the grill grates back into position, and now we have indirect heat. We're now at the halfway point, and I want to take a look with you guys at our pork bellies, see how they're doing. These were the pork belly, of which one we punctured and the other one we didn't. You can clearly see that it's bubbling up, and the other one isn't. You can see that the skin is much drier. So we'll just close the lid and see how it continues. So look at that. This is the one that we did not brush vinegar on. And you can clearly see that it's bubbling up way more than the others. But we'll just keep on brushing the vinegar for this experiment, just to see what it does in the end. We'll just let it cook and see how the skin develops. The core temperature of our pork belly is absolutely perfect. We reached a temperature of 92 degrees Celsius, but we haven't reached that crispy skin yet. So let's raise up the temperature and get it crispy. So before we were raising up the temperature on the grill, we want to get that grease out of our dripping pan. We just want to make sure it doesn't burn. We'll open up the top vent just a little bit more, as well as the bottom vent. Now with this barbecue we just have to raise the temperature by adding charcoal. The temperature in our barbecues are slowly rising. Our pork belly is crispening up, and it's totally worth waiting for another half hour or so. It's not been a half hour yet, but I've been working these grills just to make sure that we get that perfect crispy skin. But I noticed something really specific. Let's take a look at this grill first. Look, you can see the bubbling of the grease on this pork belly. This is the pork belly that we actually punctured. But now let me show you what happened. Look at this pork belly. I can just put my probe in. So basically that means that the skin is cooked, but it didn't crispen up. Whereas the one that we didn't puncture, it's also becoming soft, but we're also getting a little bit of that crisp. Now let's check out the other grill. Look at that. This is the pork belly that we brushed with vinegar, and this is the pork belly that we didn't brush. This is totally crispy. Whereas the other one is just a little bit tougher and a little less crispy. So actually, the vinegar worked. I didn't think it would work, but it worked perfectly. We're going to take these two off the grill. Even when we didn't get that perfect pop on top, I know that skin is crispy. We're just going to take it off and then let it rest. And then when it's done, we're going to eat it. Look at that. They need at least 20 minutes or so to rest. But they smell fantastic. Really nice and bacony smell. The fat is rendering down a lot and we're getting a lot of blue smoke from the fat. But we're just going to take these off the grill because we're just not getting enough hot air to let that skin crispen up. It really is a shame because we wanted to have these nice crispy pork bellies, but we're not getting what we wanted. So if you're working with a cattle grill instead of like a ceramic grill, it's very unlikely that you're gonna get that perfect crunch. It's at least very hard to get. If we want to get this result, or even better, we need to put this under a broiler. So let me just demonstrate what this skin looks like. And slice into it. So we cut into this. We're not getting that typical crunch. It's not as hard, it's really turned soft, but we're not getting that crunch that we're looking for. So I'm gonna bite into it just to make sure that we test it. So we are getting a bit of a crunch. And it's not completely tough, but it's not perfect either. Let's take the other one as a comparison. That is better. So what we're seeing is that the one that we punctured is less crunchy than the one we didn't puncture. But what we're going to do is put some top heat on it and see if we can still make it pop. Let's cut into this and see if it's gotten any better. It's at least easier to cut. But it is a bit better, but that's nowhere near perfect yet. Let's do the other one as well. Good. Now let's do the other two. This is the one we put vinegar on and this is the one we didn't put vinegar on. Wow, that is crispy. It just breaks off. Let's bite into it. That's what we're looking for. The skin is crunchy and really light. You don't get that heavy skin experience. You just get something like eating chips or something like that. Now the one without the vinegar, it breaks off just as easy. Fantastic. Absolutely delicious. There is no difference whatsoever in these two. They are exactly the same. So vinegar or no vinegar, the outcome is exactly the same. I thought it was going to make a difference, but it didn't make much difference. So when we put all of these together, we actually discovered something new. It's not the difference between puncturing and not puncturing, or the difference between vinegar and not using vinegar. The actual difference is the barbecue. The ceramic grill created a much better crispy skin than the kettle grill. So the radiation heat that came from the top of the dome It's a lot more, the airflow is a lot better distributed, and you can clearly see the results. Now we talked long enough about this pork belly, let's cut into it to eat it. Look at that, that's just insane. Look at how thick that skin has become, all crunched up, and it at least quadrupled in size. And of course we have the fat underneath that's rendered down, the meat that's kind of completely juicy. Look at that, how juicy that is. And then the tender meat underneath, and look how beautiful the meat at the bottom crispened up as well. Oh man, so let's bite into it. That is a dream come true. Absolutely beautiful. And again, we learned a lot today. Look at how our pork belly turned out. Absolutely fantastic. And I got a little surprise for you guys because I'm giving away one of these aprons. So if you want one of these aprons, go down below and create a comment. The best comment wins. And the guy who makes these aprons is going to pick that person. Doesn't matter where you live, he will ship it worldwide straight to you. Well, thank you guys again. Don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up, and thank you for all of you who are supporting us on Patreon or right here on YouTube by hitting that sponsor button. And see you guys next time. Until then, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling.